Bonn Park is supported by Sun Magic. It doesn't take much imagination to feel like you're in the tropical splendor of the Caribbean when entering Sun Magic's tanning, beauty, and wellness spas. For the past 35 years, Sun Magic has been providing Canadians with luxury UV tanning while keeping up with the latest trends. Recently, Sun Magic introduced an exclusive lineup of beauty and wellness options to their extensive menu of services, which include a variety of light therapies and spray tanning. Relax and enjoy the soothing comfort of their award-winning aesthetic treatments. You can try their magic wax for smooth and silky skin and experience their high-quality skin health care products. Feeling tense? Get treated by a professional massage therapist in Sun Magic's state-of-the-art spa named Magic Massage. It's easy to book a convenient appointment time, or you can join their exclusive membership programs and treat yourself for regular massages customized for you. Or how about a girls' spa day or spa night? Book a 2-hour private party and hang out with 4 or 5 friends for a tan, red light therapy, beauty vibra treatment, and walk out with a brighter smile after a Smile Magic professional teeth whitening treatment. Enjoy being pampered with refreshments and matching robes and slippers in a safe environment. Hannah Lee Sundberg is the owner of Sun Magic and a shiatsu therapist who believes in creating good energy and making people feel great. Whether feeling great involves a massage, a body treatment, a facial, or a sunless spray tan, Sun Magic has what you need. And the comforting Caribbean-style environment makes Sun Magic a place to escape your everyday worries for a while. And hey, if you're feeling generous, they do gift certificates, so maybe it's time you treated that stressed-out family member or friend to the gift of rejuvenation. Check out their many magic services and promotions at sunmagic.ca or stop in to meet Hannah Lee and her professional and friendly staff at Sun Magic, located at 645 Westmount Road East in Kitchener. It'll be a long time before most of us hop on a plane for a Caribbean getaway, but you could get the next best thing today at Sun Magic. Bonn Park is supported by Bodhi Foods. Serving Waterloo Region and beyond for over 35 years, Bodhi Foods is probably unlike any store you've seen before. The Bodhi Foods Country Store has a huge, ever-changing variety of specialty foods at low prices. A fun shopping experience for the whole family, Bodhi Foods Country Store is a premier factory outlet where you can find oils, lentils, linens, gift cards, books, toys, granola, and, well, basically everything. Some real specialties include Noah Martin salamis and summer sausage, as well as pickles, sauerkraut, chocolate, cookies, tea, coffee, honey, maple syrups, candies, snacks, desserts, and let's just say it, everything from soups to nuts. They even have the best price in town for the world's most precious resource. Bodhi is a regional purified water center using reverse osmosis and charging just 10 cents a dime per liter for clean, refreshing H2O. The friendly staff of Bodhi know where everything is located, and chances are they've got everything on your list. Visit them at 551 Parkside Drive in Waterloo or check them out at bodhifoods.ca. Bonn Park is supported by Good Time Games. Mario, Zelda, Master Chief, Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mega Man. If these names ring a bell to you, you've probably had a lot of good times playing video games. Want to relive the excitement of games from your past? Or introduce newcomers to icons of the genre? No matter your gaming passion, Good Time Games will have something for you. Gamers of the 90s will remember the Sega Genesis, with classics like Sonic the Hedgehog, NHL 94, and Mortal Kombat. With Halloween coming up, you may also recall genre-defining horror games like Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Or maybe you were a Nintendo devotee. If so, you'll definitely have spent hours and hours playing enduring franchises like The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Bros., and who hasn't tried at least one version of Super Smash Bros. And current day gamers who play PlayStation and Xbox certainly love their exclusives like Halo, Forza Horizon, Last of Us, and God of War. Good Time Games has all the old classics and the new hits. And do you want to try that new game before dropping up to $80 on it? Not sure the current release is as good as all the hype? You can rent current condition game titles from Good Time Games for just $10 a week, or try a vintage classic for only $7 a week. Don't have a game console of your own? No sweat. You can rent those too, and you can decide for yourself which gaming system will maximize your fun. Remember the Commodore 64 and the early home computer with titles like Ultima, Castle Wolfenstein, and Archon? Good Time Games sometimes sees original systems like this come in, fully working in pristine condition with accessories and games. For the retro gaming enthusiast, these are rare and precious finds. On top of that, Good Time Games also regularly holds contests and giveaways, much like Bonn Park does. Follow us on Instagram. If you love the games of yesteryear and today, you're sure to find a good time at Good Time Games. Visit their Lincoln Road store in Waterloo or find them on Facebook.
Welcome to Bonn Park.
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 Welcome to Bonn Park. I'm Sara Geidlinger.
And I'm Marshall Ward.
And today we have Jeff Davis.
Yes, Jeff is the creator of Bajan Tyga
And
hot sauce.
And it's a beautiful hot sauce. He's got a great story. The hot sauce has a Barbadian origin and connection to his father.
Yeah. He also has a new one called Triple R, small batch hot
We'll
sauce.
save that story for the podcast.
Yeah.
And he's also a guitarist.
Yeah. With the his last band was The Means of Production, and but he's been in many local bands. And but off the top of our show, we're going to hear a new solo piece of his, an instrumental that's a work in progress
called Handshake.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be another song at the end of the show. Here he is, Jeff Davis. Jeff Davis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Nice to meet you.
We're so happy to have you here. I want to know how you and Marshall met.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out when that was exactly. A year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. I don't know. But a previous guest on our podcast, Jeff Chard, who's the head of the history department at Sir John A. Macdonald and the lead singer of the band, The Means of Production here in town, he said, you got to meet Jeff Davis. He said, you're going to get along so well, you guys. And Jeff knew I was a big hot sauce aficionado. Like I'm crazy about hot sauce. At any given time, my fridge has probably 20 different hot sauces. And I have some like reserved ones that are put away in cupboards that are very expensive. And anyways, love hot sauces. And it's always been a dream of mine to make a hot sauce one day, and I would picture like the artwork and that, and I have all sorts of different ideas, but I've never done it, and or anything food related. So anyways, when I heard that Jeff Davis had made his own hot sauce, I thought, I gotta talk to this guy. And also, and I guess it started out by I wrote a column about your brand new hot sauce at the time.
Yep.
In an effort to help promote you, and I would say the thing that I'm so incredibly impressed about with Jeff Davis is how this is like grassroots, like starting from scratch with local ingredients as much as you can, getting them all together and like just going out and hustling these hot sauces. And within a short time, you were in stores I couldn't believe you were already in. Bajan Tyga.
Yeah. So
tell us all about it.
What's the story of that name?
You had asked how I met Marshall.
Oh, yeah.
And so Jeff Chard, thank you, Mr. Chard, for introducing us. Marshall and I have a ton of other. I met Marshall for a pint near his residence one night, and we just sat and and it just seemed like there was no end to, the kind of parallels that we have. And one of them I remember distinctly being the House of Frightenstein and Billy Van, which is another, kind of, I'm just fascinated by somebody like Billy Van who could produce. He was so prolific for, such a small amount of time. He could produce so many of those shows. That's sort of a, people like that are the ones who really inspire me to, want to do more things and take chances as well. So, I know.
And talk about on a low budget too.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Are we talking about like the castle lights?
That's
are
right.
Growing
Growing
dim.
dim.
Yeah, the hilarious.
There's
House of
no one
Frightenstein.
left but me
And
him.
They blew their they blew their whole budget on Vincent Price doing that intro, and the other segues
and a couple
as
of
well.
taxidermied animals. So
That's right.
That's about it.
Oh, Marshall likes taxidermy.
Yeah.
it's an ongoing joke. Sorry.
But the hilarious House of Frightenstein was just something that he had an indelible impact on my childhood.
What's interesting is that's the first show that I heard Jumpin' Jack Flash by
yeah.
the Stones, like over and over. They played it a lot on that
Wolfman
show.
was playing
The
it, maybe, and
Wolfman,
Igor was like
Igor was
doing
up
that
there.
little jig that he
Yeah,
did.
and to me it was almost like, wow, what is this groove and riff? This is so good. But anyways, we'll talk about music a little later. But,
So I want to say some of my
yeah.
favorite things about House of Frightenstein. I realize now more than ever is just these 5-second segments. There'd be this
Yeah.
big Muppet-like thing going Gronk, right? Or
the ape with the golf ball was the best.
or Mitch Markowitz
Yeah.
was dressed as super hippie, right?
Yeah.
And just be way out, man, right? And just these clips were like just seconds long. As a kid, I didn't really have any
I thought
grasp
these were
of what
great.
they were.
Yeah.
But more than ever, I love those.
We had, sorry, we will get to you, I swear. But
Yeah, no problem.
Lenny Lilac was on the show, and
Yeah.
we interviewed him. and
Independent pro wrestler.
independent pro wrestler, and his sister was my best friend growing up, and they introduced me to that show. And that was another thing where I was sitting there like going, what is this? This is amazing. Why haven't I seen this at my house?
I wish it could exist today in some form. It doesn't. There's a few DVDs, but they had to take all the music out.
Mm-hmm.
But oh man, I dream of one day having some collection to watch. I don't know if
we
that
should,
will ever happen though.
Go to the Billy Van pilgrimage site there. Like there's like a shop that has all of his memorabilia and stuff. I've got to go. But anyways, yeah. So thank you for the compliments about Bajan Tyga. It's it literally is grassroots. I was a marketing kind of do everything marketing type of person for
Kind of a guru, I would say.
Well, I don't know about that, but I did a lot of graphic design as well, and I did that for about 20 years around kind of the Tri-City area and different capacities. I worked for Desire to Learn for a while. I was one of their first employees, and got a ton of experience there doing kind of putting my hand up for everything that I could there, and kind of moved off into other companies. And so I sort of was building this skill set to kind of always on the side. I've been playing music, and always my graphic design and marketing skills have kind of gone into that. Not as successfully as hot sauce, but those also came together. Like I'm a webmaster as well. So I built my website.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. And I did I drew the tiger to start with. I scanned it in and I manipulated it with Illustrator and made sure that I could make that type of a label for my bottle. My thought was to put it in a glass bottle with a steel cap so that it could be recycled somewhat. And so that actually was a good sales pitch to places like Zero Waste Bulk in town, which were very happy to take the product. And it turns out Ellen from Zero Waste Bulk was really into hot sauce, and she can handle crazy hot sauce. Like
Or pranked hot
like-
sauces, as your
she's-
website calls.
Yeah, she's like Marshall,
Yeah.
in terms of Marshall likes a really hot sauce that not your average bear likes to, handle. But yeah, Bajan Tyga is like my dad is Barbadian, and so he immigrated to Canada when he was 19, and when my brother and I were little, he used to pour this yellow sauce on our spaghetti and whatever when we were, I think I remember like being 7 and having like this yellow sauce dumped on my spaghetti and going, ow, and then going, I need more. Like initially I think I was a junkie like right away for that stuff. And I've always liked mustard as well, and dill pickles and that vinegary sort of profile.
The yummy acidic stuff.
I really like that.
Me
I like
too.
so that's kind of so. Fast forward, I've been living in Canada for 30 or more years, and I sort of forget about that sauce, and then I eat every other kind of sauce on the face of the North American market. I, like Marshall, have like I have at least 60 bottles at home that I haven't even cracked into half of them. But I liked all these sauces, and I tried experimenting with making like your kind of more garden variety, like a Tabasco-y type of sauce or other fruit-based sauces. And then Jody and I were my wife Jody and I were in Barbados in 2018, and I had some of that same yellow sauce that my dad was pouring on our food as kids.
And it was like a surprise, like you weren't planning on having it? It kind of snuck up on you?
I went to Barbados and I secretly, well, not so secretly, told Jody that I wanted to do an island tour. And she knew on that island tour that I would probably indulge in hot sauce everywhere I went. So we basically found that same sort of profile, and I was like, that's it. I gotta bring this to Canada, because it's not really, it's the good stuff isn't available, if you know what I mean. Like you can get the very synthesized, like the chemically kind of driven, mass produced sauce that, they make in pop bottles. In Canada, and I'm not going to name any sauce companies, but to make something the way I'm making it, really as a crafted micro batch is really kind of unheard of in Canada. So I thought, hey, let's go for it. I've got a real story that I can present, and as a marketing person, you're always searching for a story.
And I have to say, when I was on your website, when I said it was beautiful, I was looking for my moment to tell you it's your story page that got me.
Oh, cool. I'm glad.
I've read about your dad. I read about the spaghetti, and I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah,
I need to know more about this.
Awesome.
So was dad cooking? Was dad making the sauce himself, or did he source it from somewhere?
He got it from somewhere, and
a buddy who'd smuggle it on a plane.
Yeah. Someone's suitcase came out of, but it had a parrot on it, and I can't find that brand anymore. But it was yellow, like even more yellow than my sauce. But it was that vinegary, mustardy, turmeric, and Scotch bonnet kind of a base. And so mine isn't really, like I've had Bajans tasted, including my family. My dad comes from a large family. I think he's 14 siblings. So in total, and I've tested it, luckily, with a lot of them, and they always go, it's not salty. It's not salty enough. And that was one of the things I wanted to eliminate, was the salt.
Right.
So I was okay with that, because
people can always add salt.
Yeah, if I'm cooking, I add salt and pepper to things while they're cooking, and then that actually works better for me. So that, that hit the mark for me. And I thought that the Canadian palate is ready for this kind of a hot sauce. I think like if you look at a Canadian table, you've got ketchup on the table usually. You may have like a barbecue style sauce or HP or something like that, but not like a spicy mustard like that. So I think that's what I was hoping people would dig and like it. I'm really not aiming for mass appeal. I like keeping it in a crafted small batch where I can control things. I'm a little bit of a control freak.
That's probably a good thing when you're making this perfect sauce.
Well, thank you. Well, yeah, like I love being kind of a solopreneur, and I know eventually I'll have to probably get some help, but at this point, it's been great doing everything, and I know in my head exactly where I'm going, and nobody's gonna divert me from that.
Right.
So yeah.
What I think about how if you go into a hot sauce emporium, which I could spend hours in just gazing at the artwork.
I love the artwork.
And the fun titles. But your hot sauce, for me, stands apart for a couple of reasons. One is you went with I guess it's called a wide mouth jar.
Yeah.
Right? And then that color is like, unlike, if I've had hundreds of hot sauces, I've never had anyone with that kind of color.
Oh, good.
And again, in your graphics, the black and yellow together just looks awesome.
Well, it's like, I guess, thank you. The other thing which I like is seeing a product. If it is a pretty product, I like seeing the product, and I don't want the label to necessarily interfere with that. On my second bottle that's in front of you there, I didn't opt for that because I'm making it in a much smaller quantity, and the transparent labels are actually quite expensive. So like I need to order them in a larger batch. Whereas the other ones, I just went with the color of it is less, stands out less. So
yeah, like aesthetically on the black and yellow, the winner combination, but the on the red, on the more red sauce, it might not pop as much, right?
That is.
We're talking about your brand new one, Triple R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Is it called Triple R?
Triple R. Okay, the story behind Triple R is one of my dad's brothers. If something was really, really hot, like, and was gonna put you into trouble, either the day of or the day after, he called it Triple R brand. He said that sauce would be Triple R brand, and I asked him what it meant, and he said rosy red rectum. So that's a nice way of saying it, a truncated way of saying it. So I have it in the small copy, but it's but I think I had a T-shirt made that said rosy red rectum in like very large lettering, and it didn't sell very well. I think people don't really want to be that directly associated with those words.
Maybe you just haven't found the right
Triple
market
R.
yet.
Having said that, go into a hot sauce emporium.
Yeah,
You'll see some stuff.
Oh, yeah. A lot of pictures of bums and fire. And, yeah, exactly.
So how does this one compare to Bajan Tyga?
The base of it is Bajan Tyga, but it's got the story behind it is, and I can't neglect these gentlemen, is a friend of mine, Dmitry Dimka. He started running a contest in KW called the Hellfire Challenge, where he was having people at Morty's pub. Jay at Morty's is heavily involved too, and Soupy, but Dimitri asked me if I would like to sponsor this event, and we happened to be in this kind of a same area. And I was on the spot. I'm like, I'm a hot sauce maker. I'm just starting. They're just starting this thing. Of course I will. Like, I'll take a chance. Let's go. So they were like, well, great that you've given us some Bajan Tyga, but it's not going to make people run away in cower and fear. Like, you need something hotter. And so I went to the drawing board, and I was like, I don't want to make a prank sauce. I really don't. And I made one. So I made one that was a beautiful, beautiful hot sauce with 7 pot peppers in it, but it wasn't quite hot enough to make people really, stop eating. So Jay from Morty's actually was eating it and talking to me on the phone while he had fries and with my nice 7 pot sauce, which I thought was pretty crazy. And he was like, dude, it's not hot enough. In fact, I like it. I'm going to eat it all. And I was like, oh, so go back to the drawing board. And I was like, okay. So I had a pound of Carolina Reapers in my freezer. I thawed it out and I blended it up and I added some red wine and I added some black pepper and bingo. Like it's really hot though, and it's a creeper. So it comes in and it just in about 30 seconds or so you start to really feel it, and then for a long time after. So it's not an entry level sauce. So I
think that should be your T-shirt slogan.
the other sauce though is like an everyday sauce. I eat so much of it, I'm worried. I have to go to my dentist and get them to bleach my bleach my teeth or something because I just eat it on everything. It's
It's great.
And have you been recognized by, I can't remember who, I saw something where you ate something so incredibly hot.
Yes, I'm a member of the League of Fire. So
What is
that's
the League of Fire?
The League of Fire is a club that is worldwide, I think, and I'm part of the Canadian chapter, I suppose. But you have to do a challenge and have it videotaped, and then you kind of get on the leaderboard. So I'm Jeff Triple R Davis, and yeah, I ate a chocolate called the White Lightning, and it was like about 2 inches square, and it was filled with all kinds of pepper, like really hot pepper, super hot, and I didn't have big issue with it. I was a little worried about it, but it wasn't too bad. I had more trouble actually with my sauce because I did on a broadcast. I ate a tablespoon of that sauce and swallowed it to just kind of as a stunt, and I paid for it later. Like it is really bad.
I don't know if you call it a contest at Morty's.
Yeah.
So I watched a bit of it on YouTube.
Hellfire? Yeah,
Hellfire.
okay.
So it's a group of people all eating pizza.
That was that particular challenge.
Yeah.
So they basically paint some personal pizzas with that sauce, or actually it's a little watered down, on the pizza, and then they add other peppers on top, and then they have to eat it within 6 minutes or something like that.
Why?
Well, yeah. Wait a minute. I'm trying to remember a friend who'd say for fame and glory. That's why. That's exactly why.
Sometimes I forget about those
Fame
goals.
and glory.
Yeah.
So, so people were eating it. I have a local buddy named Eric Gruber who has mutant powers, and he can just power through that stuff. I don't know how he does it. Another buddy, Mike Jack, who is a Guinness Book of World Records holder, he completed the challenge. But yeah, he's out of this world as well. He's at the top of the League of Fire, like near the top. So yeah, but hot sauce and to your point, I mean, I do everything myself. Currently, I pick up all my ingredients. I source all my ingredients. I prepare them in a commercial kitchen in town, and I go door to door selling basically. Specialty retailers is who I wanted to talk to. Another interesting part to that, to the Bajan Tyga genesis is that Rob Brady from Brady's Meats, who I think you've met, Marshall, he and my dad knew each other. Like my dad and my mom would go into his shop and shop there, and Rob was talking to my dad about why aren't there any Barbadian sauces here, and my dad called me immediately and said, because he knew that I was making it at home, just not for public consumption, and so I was just going through testing with it. Really, I wasn't sure whether I was gonna go ahead with it, and my dad called me from Rob's shop and he said, Jeff, do you have any of your bottles around? Because go take one into Rob right now. And I said, oh, of course. So within an hour, I went to Rob, and I said, here you go. And he was like, who are you? I was like, I'm my dad. My dad just called me, and he told me to bring you some of this. So he tried it, and he said, if you make that, I will set you. You'll be my first. I'll be your first store.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah. So Rob is honestly, he gave me that last little shove, out the door, out of the nest, to kind of take it to market. And so I said it was tough because I said to Rob, I'm going to do it right. If I do it, I'm going to go get it tested. So I took it to Niagara College, had it batch tested so it was safe, because the last thing I wanted to do was give it to anyone.
Of course.
And have them be sick. So I went and I did my food handlers. I did all the education I needed to kind of prepare the sauce properly, and I kind of studied how to prepare a fruit-based sauce correctly. learned the temperatures to cook it at so that it's absolutely shelf safe for a long period of time. It's got the right pH level. So yeah, I went to town, and then I also bought insurance, and I kind of went back to front on it, and I just wanted to make sure that it was a success. I was very happy with the recipe, and Rob liked it, and that was kind of like, oh boy, then I think the mainstream will probably dig it. And
Jeff, is there not something kind of daunting though? Like I'm picturing you going into Vincenzo's, which is my favorite store.
Yeah.
And
Lots of free ads happening in this episode, people.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
The dropping.
I'm just kidding.
And you've got
My favorite store.
you got an amazing selection of
Yeah, they
sauces
do.
already, and your bottle has to somehow compete
Yeah.
with all this incredible color and emblazoned labels and stuff.
Yeah.
And how does that work? How do you get up and rolling with that?
I'm just going to interrupt
Yeah.
for a second. The jar is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So it would catch my eye in the store, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it was really funny because I think through my marketing background, I've been face to face with some really, really tough customers, like, so to speak.
Who know what the design should be?
Or engineers who want me to market their product, and they
have no idea what it should look like.
have a really, really like strong opinion and have a lot of veto power.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm not really afraid of talking to anyone. So I sort of went. I just went in with my bottle, and I asked, if Carmen was there, and Rob told me actually to talk to Carmen. So I just went right over, and I brought my business card, and I brought my bottle, and I found Carmen, and I said, hey, I love your store, and here's my bottle. And at the time, I didn't have a barcode on it. I didn't have all that he required really for sale. So I went back to the drawing board, and I made a label that had a barcode.
Good for him and good for you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And you know what? He also really he's got some really strong old school values that are really good for record keeping. So like, he came and we did it initially by cash, and I wasn't set up on a checking system. He wanted to make sure the product would sell, and I think it sold out within 3 days.
That's great.
Like when I brought it there, mainly because I have some great, really nice friends who work at like Sun Life right next door, and I think they went in and cleaned it out.
Guys, go buy my sauce.
It wasn't quite that much of a push, but
No.
But my friends are very humble, and they wouldn't say that, but yeah, no, it sells really well there, and yeah, I thought, wow, this is really good, and then you start meeting. For me, a big thing was starting to meet people that I've never met. I also did a pop up at Vincenzo's, which was really, really good.
Then you can talk to the people.
Yeah. So then you get to meet people, see their interact, and see what they think of it. Like, really. And Vincenzo's is an interesting place because they have a lot of different taste palettes covered there.
Yeah.
So you can find a good cross section of people there that might enjoy your product, whereas not every place is open to having something spicy. For example,
You don't put this in Costco.
Yeah, no,
Not yet.
No, I mean
Yeah.
the third party things where you taste with the little,
Pepsi and then Bajan Tyga.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna ask quickly. How do you sample this in a pop up? Is it like a pretzel stick on a?
Yeah, so I have what I did at Vincenzo's, which is also really nice, was I got some of their cheese and some of their really nice crackers.
Now I'm hungry. Why didn't you bring that? No, I'm just kidding.
I should have done that. Yeah.
No.
But have a little sampling. But yeah, it goes well with. That's something about the sauce too, is that it goes well with charcuterie boards, which it was never traditionally used for in Barbados. They would never do that, not that I'm aware of. So it's to me that was a groundbreaking thing too. So it goes well in cheese shops. It's in Stratford at the Milky Way and Vincenzo's, of course, which has all that good stuff. And yeah, it sits well in that sort of environment. And I just recently won the first place for gluten-free sauce in Canada from the Canadian Hot Sauce Awards.
That's fantastic.
Thanks. But it's like there's a lot of really great momentum happening, and it's really interesting because we were talking about pop-ups, and pop-ups are great for all the shops that I've been in, and then all of a sudden, boom, we can't do them anymore. Mm-hmm. So it kills that type of interaction. But things will hopefully pivot, the big word pivot, to accommodate that a little more. Luckily, as part of my business plan, I wanted to be on Amazon in January, which I did manage to do. And as soon as COVID hit, my online sales just skyrocketed. Like you could see, I actually looked at a line and it was just like skyrocket, like my sales. I went from selling like one bottle every 3 weeks to selling 3 bottles a day.
Yeah.
So it was just like that's kind of, they feel like my boss right now. Like, so I'm kind of like, I got to make sure Amazon's covered.
That's a great idea.
Your reviews are great too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sarah, I interrupted you earlier.
I just interrupted you. It's what we do. It's what I do, actually. No, I was going to say that's great. And one thing I did notice is I feel that our city has been really generous in supporting each other through this time.
Yeah.
Not city as a corporation, but each other. Everyone's going out to the local businesses. Everyone's finding a way. I mean, everything's opened up now pretty much, but everyone's trying to find a way to do curbside pickup and buy online if they can. And I think the businesses have been incredibly accommodating because they have to. But that's great that you've been online. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And now other businesses are pivoting that way. So they're... So a lot of the shops that I started in that were only retail are now saying, "Guess what, Jeff? We're gonna be online. Are you ready?" And I was like, "Yep. I'm ready. Let's go."
Psst. This is an ad. Bonn Park is supported by the Milky Way, a fine cheese shop located in historic downtown Stratford. Come in and pick up something new to try, or choose a selection of your favorites to serve on a cheese board. A great choice of crackers, chutneys, charcuterie, and other cheese accompaniments are also available, along with gift baskets for custom orders. Cheese shopping can be a fascinating culinary adventure, and the Milky Way is a great place to start. Open all year round or visit them at themilkyway.ca. That's Milky, WHEY.ca. Yeah, and that's what I love too. When you were telling your story and you were talking about, okay, you manipulated this image of the taiga, and you are an illustrator, and you are working as a marketing person, and you're also, taking the proper steps to get your food safety stuff in order and get your legal stuff in order and your insurance and all of that. Like a lot of people just think like, I'm going to make this sauce and throw it in bottles and I'm going to sell it. I love, like you're my kind of people. I love that you went out and looked at the whole picture to make sure that when this does take off, which it already has, you were ready. You were ready for that takeoff point, right? That's admirable to me. What I'm wondering is, you're buying these hot peppers, you're cooking, you're starting to test your recipes at home. You're not from a cooking background. Maybe your cooking experience is from family.
Well, I have worked as a short order cook. I have worked I worked for St. Mary's Hospital for a period of time in the food department. So I wasn't unfamiliar with cooking. I love cooking at home. I love cooking. It shows.
Yeah, all of us love cooking. Yeah.
I really love cooking. I've always been curious, and I'm an experimental cook. I could never be a baker,
right?
Because
baking is hard. You have to be
is
so
like
precise.
Chemistry and math, whereas I guess hot sauce is totally alchemy. But the thing is, it's more of an experimental process for me to make a new sauce. When I follow the recipe that I have, I think that's the hardest thing for me is following it
and not messing with it,
and not really wanting to play with it, or like, oh, I found this pepper. Why don't I drop one of those in? No, I don't do that.
You've got to have that quality control and the micro batch.
I get to police myself, and but thank you. I mean, I think there are a lot of sauce companies that just make it in their garage and then they sell
It's
it.
my dad's recipe. We'll just wing it.
And
yeah.
you can do that to a degree, but like if you're selling it at a flea market or a fair, or sorry, like the farmer's market, you can somewhat do that. But yeah, like it's amazing. I think how many sauces might be out there on the global stage that are just
Made in a bucket in the backyard.
Don't take. I don't know about that, but I don't know. I honestly, I guess that's their business. But yeah, I like to make sure that I don't have to look over my shoulder and worry about what's going on.
Yeah, you've got all those bases covered.
And I don't want anybody to get hurt or sick.
No.
I mean, I'm sort of taking. It's funny. My one negative review on Amazon.
It's always one.
Yeah, well,
I saw that one starts too hot.
There's gonna be more, but it's like you bought a hot sauce. Come on.
It doesn't say mild sauce.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
So I think you
Gummy
actually,
bears, yeah.
I think you answered my question, which I was leading up to, which I wanted to know, what did Jody think? What did your wife think?
Oh.
Here you're going to change careers, you're going to change this path and just go for it. But it sounds like you had every single duck in a row before you got going.
Yeah. I mean, it's she's my rock. She is amazing, supportive. And I wouldn't, I don't think I would have the liberty I have with just anyone. But yeah, I had savings. I made a fair amount of money in my marketing career, and we're in a position where we have the luxury to kind of take a chance. But at the same time, my plan included her being, gainfully employed, like at the same time. And we had discussed that, and COVID throws a wrench into everybody's.
Oh boy, does it ever.
Everything, right? So it's okay. We're, but yeah, she is behind what I'm doing 100%, and I
Shout
I
out
really,
to Jody.
Yeah, she's
That is until you ruin the Vitamix, and you can't ever use that one again.
Ooh, have you got a Vitamix? I guess you have to.
I actually wrecked one of her mixers, and I bought her the mixer she wanted afterwards. So that's
marriage. That's the way to do it.
What happened was yellow sauce hit our roof, and the Cuisinart mixer we had started leaking all over the place, and it basically I wore it out, and so I bought it. I did get a Vitamix. There's another marketing pitch, but the Vitamix does part of it, and then I have a RoboCoupe as well.
Before we make a switch from hot sauce to hot licks, because you're a guitarist, a wonderful guitarist.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing a hot sauce to Waterloo region that really captures the Caribbean. I used to hear about the salsa. I can't remember what it's called, but people used to be able to only get it in the Caribbean. And it was very popular here. I think that's what people are looking for sometimes. We romanticize and we fall in love with the Caribbean if you're lucky enough to go anywhere.
Sure.
Yep.
And then you want that back at home somehow.
Yep.
Not that I ever had your hot sauce or anything like it when I was in various places.
Yep.
But something about it to me really speaks of that incredible part of the world.
Oh, thanks. I that's a huge compliment. I really do want to take people to that kind of happy place, when they're having the sauce, and I mean, I know that not everybody is a hot sauce fan and not everybody can handle it, but for that other, 70% of the population, hopefully, it's a really nice way to get a bit of an adrenaline rush and kind of, it's also very nutritious. It's got a ton of, I use from Fennings out in New Hamburg, I get the most awesome turmeric, and it's turmeric root, and it's not the powder, I actually blend up turmeric root, which
you got a beautiful photo of it on your site.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's almost like, it almost tastes, some people think there's ginger in there, but it's not. But when you get the turmeric root, it's very similar to the cousin ginger. So to me, that's, it's very important. I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to sacrifice that. So I don't know if I can ever go to that point of going to a co-bottler and saying, hey, here's my recipe, because they're going to go, well, we can get powder and we can inject this and that to make it seem like a powder.
Then you have to add something in to make sure it preserves its freshness.
I'll know it's not the same. So,
and so will your followers, the people that have grown with you with this sauce, they'll know for sure. I have this theory about Fennings. That Fenning family is so gorgeous. I think it's all of this organic produce that they're eating.
It all comes from Eck. Yeah. Yeah. It's so fun. We did a big, a farm. They had like a farm, I guess like a maker's market that was in the barn behind Fennings, in New Hamburg. And it was a great time. Everybody there was so cool. And it was so laid back, and they were giving tours to like families around the farm.
That's great.
I think that's really cool, and it's a good way to be part of the landscape and farming, and see that it is a viable, a cool occupation and a cool thing to do. I went from being totally corporate to like kind of really, I'm enjoying this kind of stuff,
and the people that you meet.
Believe. Yeah.
That's one thing, to sort of segue with it, that's one thing that Marshall and I have enjoyed. Like Marshall's whole writing career has been meeting new people and learning about them and trying to understand their lives on a very basic level of just like we all kind of have something in common, right? And I've learned so much about that about myself and reaching out to our community with this podcast. And we have the coolest people in this city. You know what I mean?
I was mentioning before, I did a food starter program with the city, and I got a grant through the city, which was amazing, and so that brought me closer to the other people that were in that group, and we've all sort of like stayed in touch and sort of like created some synergies, like our products work together in some cases, and it's just like, you know what, I love the city way more now than I did 2 years ago.
And you get to enjoy it at a slower pace.
Yeah. I really think there's a ton going on. I mean, there's a ton going on. Like this is a cool podcast, and I mean, I think it's very appropriate right now to like sort of draw attention to how cool Kitchener-Waterloo is, and the surrounding region. And
well, in an email you use the term hyper-local, which I've never.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
And I thought that's a great term. I'm gonna use that from now on.
Oh, that's our new slogan. We're hyper.
We couldn't be any more local.
You guys are. Yeah, it's great. I'm gonna use that hashtag later. But
getting hyper local with Marshall and Sara.
So you've been in local bands.
Yeah. Yes. And we heard your song earlier.
Yeah. So we heard Handshake, which is a new recording that's a work in progress. And I also know you through the means of production, a band you were in with Jeff Chard, and I got to see you perform live. And I think you're just a fantastic guitarist, and I had the best seat in the house for that concert.
That was nice.
Yeah. At the bar?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No, Marshall camped out about five feet in front of me.
That's my favorite spot too.
And he got to see all the pedal dancing and you name it. And that was nice. I wish I could have just sat there and shared a beer with you instead, though. It was a little nerve-wracking, but it was.
I had enough for both of us.
That's good. That's good. I had one later. Yeah, but
well, tell us about the new song that we heard off the top.
Okay,
there.
so the Handshake one is it was kind of like, it was something that I had kind of introduced to in the means of production, and it sort of didn't go anywhere, but I just loved it, and it kept popping up in my head. I'd be in the shower or doing something, and it would just come back. And so I thought, to me, that's the earworm that I want to kind of continue. And for me, it's kind of anything that I do from now on is going to be sort of more completely introverted, and sort of like, I don't really know if a lot of it's going to be a live kind of a project. I would like to do, I'm super into production, good production and interesting experimental production, and I think you had a guest on that was talking about reggae music and stuff recently.
Brent Hagerman, I think.
That's right. That's right. And it's funny. He was talking about some experiences, and I think you were talking, Marshall, about some experiences as well, and hearing Blondie, and that tweaked something for me is when I was a kid, I for one Christmas I got a clock radio, and it had a single speaker in it. It was mono. And
was it like the Woodwall one?
Yes,
with the red numbers.
That's the one.
Oh, I had one too.
With the
Thank you,
big
Uncle
snooze
George.
button.
You know,
Yes.
R.I.P. That was the greatest clock ever. I wish I still had it.
I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds great.
Oh, it was
Well,
great.
they're
That
awesome.
snooze button was,
Yeah.
you could just basically throw your arm on the nightstand and you hit it because it was enormous.
Sneeze. Yeah. But so one night it was like, I remember as a kid, I think it might have been 10. I had almost like this kind of strange awakening or something. It was like, I heard Blondie's Heart of Glass through this single speaker. And the way that the song was mixed, it sounded great in mono even. Like, without it being in stereo, it was still mixed so well that you've got all these sandwich layers and the flanging and everything kept moving you around and everything sat like perfectly. And I remember just lying back going, oh wow, this is crazy. This is like teleporting me to some island or something, like it's crazy.
You know, in a movie, when there's a scene of people dancing, or maybe a scene of people experiencing like a love moment or something like that, and the way that they film it is the two characters seem like they're holding hands and spinning, and you get like a view
Yes.
of each person. That's how I feel when I hear Heart of Glass.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm in that vortex.
It's so warm
Yeah.
and like you're in this bubble.
Yeah, yeah, really.
of warmth and
Yeah.
sort of like music and it's to me, so those elements are what I'm sort of going to be after, I think, moving forward, just on my own. And I mean, I love instrumental stuff too, and I'm a huge reggae fan. My dad introduced us to kind of calypso music, which is really more fast, fast stuff. But we it led to reggae at a young age, and that could be a good album cover or album name. But reggae at a young age. But I've always been into the stuff that's instrumental as well. Like King Tubby was a big. I like the '70s dub stuff. King Tubby, Mad Scientist, guys like that were really into mixing with very small, like a 4-track or an 8-track board.
And some of that stuff ends up being so lovely because it's like fat on the bottom end,
Yes.
but then it pulls you in with that tinny better
Yes.
stuff on top.
Yeah. And they understood, later, I was really into 90s psychedelia as well. And, well, all sorts of psychedelia, but the 60s and 90s were awesome periods of music. But yeah, that type of stuff, like the high frequency stuff that really kind of sucks you in, as you say, like, right? So it's got this nice bottom bass that provides that warm bubble, and then you've got these elements that are pulling at your hearing. So it's I'm fascinated by music. Definitely, you might notice that I'm looking a lot at the table when you guys are talking, because I like to basically not look at things while I'm listening.
Oh, yeah.
But I actually discovered I get a lot more done at work when I'm like just not looking directly at something and sort of just taking notes or
That's incredibly
thinking.
Intuitive of you to figure out what works for you when you're in productive mode.
I'm really slow, so I have to figure out every advantage I can get.
You said something so interesting. So I was talking to an antique dealer at the antique market who has all vinyl.
Yep.
And he told me that the most popular vinyl that sells for him is records from the 60s and the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's what you just mentioned.
Well,
and I don't quite get where the 90s fits in there.
yeah.
Some beautiful
I'm not
stuff
sure.
made in the 90s.
I think it has something to do with the fact that at that point, there weren't as many records being made in the 90s. A lot of bands were just releasing on CD.
So
and
instead of a
people want
CD.
them on record now. No, but I never heard of the 90s kind of
Well,
held in that way.
it's funny. Like I mean, obviously, I absorbed all kinds of stuff from the '90s, as we probably all have here, and but I wasn't so much into the American grunge scene as much as I was into the stuff coming from the UK or from other areas, and there was so much good melody kind of coming from other areas, and as a guitar player, a lot of the stuff like from the grunge world is like drop D tuning, and it's kind of like low kind
I
of.
always feel like drop D is cheating.
Well,
but then I
it's
hear
like-
some of the stuff
yeah.
created, and I'm like, oh man, maybe I should have been doing that this whole time.
I mean, I played in one of the bands I played in a band called Like a Blue, kind of in the late 90s, in the start of 2000, I think. And the singer had a really high voice. And if I was in E major, it just didn't quite work. So I actually detuned to E flat, and it was easier to play the guitar that way. And his voice somehow just magically, like, it was perfect for that. So
Again, very intuitive.
well, for me, it's all the guitar is. Let's not kid anybody. It's all about the singer,
I don't know. I don't know if that's really true.
I don't believe that personally, but
Yeah.
I go
A
crying.
lot of people
I
believe.
cry into my pillow a lot. So no, but no. I think you need to frame the song around the singer, and for me, I use a tool like a capo quite a bit, which
Yeah.
people call a cheater.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But then, like sometimes it's really useful if you want to get something done.
So some of the new stuff that I'm working on, which I'll send to you when it's done, is in open E. So
Okay.
I've tuned to open E, and then done some complicated things above. So it's kind of,
Oh, listen for that.
to me, it's interesting. And I mean, we mentioned the Stones earlier, and a lot of their tunes have one guitar in open E, and he also does open D, but dadgad, and but the open E, I'm really enjoying it because it's not, the tension on the strings isn't that much different than playing in E, and then you can also be tuned to standard tuning and play really well within that. So it's so yeah, like that's what I'll be focusing, stuff that sort of feels a little more organic. And I hope that you guys felt that way about the instrumental piece there, Handshake. The reason I call it Handshake is because my buddy Brent from Means of Production and Arrows into Oceans, which was another band I was in, I sent him that file. I had programmed drums for it, and then I sent it to him, and he was like, "What do you think of this?" And he sent me a file. You think that's okay? I threw it right in. It's like, of
It's
course,
perfect, yeah.
it's absolutely perfect, man. But you suck, Like, no, he's Brent.
That's a beautiful thing when that happens, right?
Brent is one of my best friends, and he's musically, he's a really superior player. I think everybody I play with is a better guitar player than me, but Brent quite possibly, quite definitely is.
Yeah, I've seen you two on stage.
Yeah.
It's something pretty magical.
He's good, and Brent is Brent and I will always be fiddling around. But an interesting thing about Brent is his parents are from the Caribbean, so like he and I had this kind of unbeknownst,
Connection.
kind of rhythmic
yeah.
thing, and it's kind of like, yeah, we all heard those Calypso albums, we all heard those albums when we were little. If I have a mental block, like say I'm creating something like a graphic design piece, like often you're challenged to kind of create something really special, and you're having this block. So for me, it's pick up my guitar for 10 minutes, click, it's just gone. It just like wipes the memory banks. You're using a different pathway in your mind, and sleep on it, and then the next day, creativity back. It's like it's always worked for me. I hope it always does. But whenever I need like to change gears or a reset button, I always fall either. And the same works the other way. If I'm having a little bit of a loss with music, I can go back to visual art. I enjoy playing around with multimedia and mixed media too, and who knows.
Jeff, we're going to send the listeners off with a song called Hierarchy of Needs.
Great.
By the Means of Production. Can you tell us about that song before you go?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I sent that one to you guys is weird thing happened. So Jeff Chard sings on that one. It's a means of production song. Johnny Jackson is the drummer. Brent plays the rhythm guitar. So he's playing the acoustic that's in there. And then I struggled to figure out what I wanted to play on that until we were at the studio. And then I kind of put it together like there. But I couldn't think of a solo, and I was having all kinds of problems, but we had booked time, and it was just me going in to do guitars. And I went in, and I just felt really weird, and I said, I'm not going to use a pick tonight. I'm just going to use my thumb and fingers and see what happens. And so I had a rough idea, and this sort of like doing a few takes was just like, wow, that is weird. I've never heard that before. I really like it. I'm really, really proud of that. And then it felt like this wave of something came over me. And then, so I was riding a high, and I slept well that night. And then I woke up the next morning, and I found out that one of my uncles passed away at the same time that I was recording that part. But I was stumped. Like, I was honestly going, like, looking to the heavens for something. And this thing happened, and I've never experienced that before. I guess it's my Dunstan Ramsey fifth business kind of a weird feeling, because I'm not really a religious person, but it felt like it needed to be there, and I had no idea what Jeff Chard was singing about. But when you listen to the whole package, it sort of makes a lot of sense, and it was very poignant.
It's an amazing solo. I got to hear it live.
Thank you.
And nobody knows what Jeff Chard is singing about.
He doesn't tell us.
No.
There's something beautiful about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks, man.
Thank you so
you're
much.
welcome. It's been a pleasure. All right.
Thanks.
Jeff.
You're welcome.
Filled with strife, can cut you like a knife if you're not careful. No way, we do things every day in this society can make us go astray. If I die, don't cry. Don't cry, you gave me everything. You gave me everything. This place can be absent of grace, can punch you in the face when you're not looking. You make this a bearable fate. You heal me when I ache. It's something beautiful. And if I die, don't cry. Don't cry, 'cause you gave me everything. Everything.
Hey all, thanks for meeting us in Bonn Park. Please like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on the platform that you're listening to. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bonn Park Podcast. Original music by Alan Lung.